legislation buried for the cost of billion-dollar backroom deals that profit from our loss. What good is tomorrow if born to die and waste? Is trust just an illusion? Is a promise a mistake? And as sure as the sun shines, as sure as the grass grows and the rivers flow, I'll be there beside you, pulsing through your veins. You'll feel my heart, you know. Time has come to recognize deceptions of the past, seek truth and stand together at last.
Okay.
I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I got my teeth on.
Well, that was fun. Can y'all hear me? Okay, that was fun. I'm not sure what that was. Good evening. Welcome to UCY.TV. I'm Vince Easley, your host for the next 2 hours with my guests. Got a great show lined up. We're talking about Obamacare. Some big questions there. I've got a few myself. So my guests tonight are Roger Landry for the Liberty Briefing Project .com. That's this first hour. We're going to have a discussion of freedom and the mission of the project, which I'll soon be joining in partnership with a website and blog. Then Ralph Epperson, he comes in the second hour, and he's gonna give a presentation on Obamacare. You're not gonna want to miss tonight. Ralph Epperson is a fantastic lecturer and author. Roger Landry is incredible. I also have Jessica online with us, and she's going to talk about her project. And we're going to start off with her. Hey, Jessica, how you doing? Okay, maybe we don't have Jessica.
Hey, Vincent.
Okay, we do have you. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Great. Hey, give me what you're doing. Tell us what you're up to.
Well, I'm super excited to talk about the 100,000 Petition Coalition Facebook group. And I'm really excited. I found them. They're helping me launch a petition I'm starting, ban GMOs in Texas.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. So I'm really happy that you're having me on your show. The 100,000 Petition Coalition, they're going to be in the near future, gathering as many American petition signers together and land every single petition that mentions government resignation on their desk at the White House on rotation. They will comply with the American people and be forced to hear our voices of discontent concerning war crimes, genocide, and treason. They won't stop this from happening, Vincent.
You know, I'm really excited about how petition sites work and bringing people together on awareness of certain things that's going on in the world, and I believe it's a positive step in the right direction to affect change, and that is bringing people together for awareness. So I'm really
yeah, me too. We need this is a united in action call to order. We need signers. There's a lot of people talking out about a lot of things going on, and a lot of people spending time on Facebook, and we need to have them hop on over and join us and affect real change.
Yeah, I dropped the links into chat. Find them at thepetitionsite.com. That is GMO ban state of Texas, the petition site.com, also thepetitionsite.com for that. 100,000 petition coalition on Facebook groups. Check that out. And also the event. So really excited to be able to bring people together. Anybody that has a voice that wants to be heard, please do call. By the way, thanks, Phyllis Sinclair. I think I might be having me another intro, which is kind of a bummer. I love it at last, but dadgum. Anyways, Lady Maverick Errol Renault is working on that. I had somebody else do one, but they didn't put all the stuff together, and I'm such a troglodyte as far as computers goes. Anyways, take part here in just a few with us and join us, and let me welcome Roger Landry.
Hello.
Hey, how are you? Great. How you doing?
Busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest. Managing to stand up.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the Liberty Beacon project.
Well, I've got to tell you something. Had I known, I wished, but had I known for a fact how quickly this would grow, not just a national organization, but a global organization, I wouldn't have believed this even a year ago. But we have seen an explosion of growth that's just phenomenal, Vincent.
Awesome. Hey, listen, caller, we have you on the line. Do me a favor, introduce yourself and who's calling in? Hi, Thomas.
Coalition.
From which coalition?
Off of the Facebook website.
Awesome. Hey, go ahead and get your shout out, brother.
Okay, I just wanted to talk about the thing about the Obamacare, and that I do not agree with such a term as a T4, which has to do with Hitler originally, as to a healthcare reform, that it is a eugenics program.
Yeah, there's a lot of conflicting information. Roger, looks like we'll come back to the Liberty Beacon project. Would you like to go ahead and address the caller?
Well, I'll tell you something. I am a huge proponent. I am a huge proponent of, opponent of Obamacare, because from what I have done, and I've written several articles and I've done a lot of research on this, it is, it's going to be responsible for dismantling the middle class in this country. And, as far as providing everybody with health care, there are so many indicators pointing to the fact that, what the health care that you will be provided will be substandard. Doctors are bailing in massive numbers, and those who were going to school to become doctors are changing their majors. We are seeing a steady decrease in the healthcare quality in this country, which at one time anybody who was sick in the world did their damnedest to come to this country because we have the best healthcare programs system on the planet. And this is changing at such a high rate of speed. It's insane. The premise that was brought in under was that it would not be a tax. The Supreme Court said in order for this to work, it has to be a tax. So all of a sudden they decided, okay, it's a tax. But you find that out after it's been promised. Everything that's been promised, you won't lose your doctor. Yes, you will. You won't lose your health care plan. Millions of people are losing their health care plan. What we're having is company after company moving offshore. Why? Because they can't afford to pay for all of their workers through the Obamacare project. Not only that, but they're moving, a vast majority of companies are moving a lot of their full-time workers to 30 hours a week or below so they don't have to pay the premiums. Who does this hurt the most? This is a direct hit to the middle class. Your average wage is dropping, not because what you're getting per hour is dropping, but because the amount of hours you can work is dropping. If they drop you to a part-time worker, they don't owe you benefits. So everybody gains but the middle class. And the middle class, Obamacare is a direct disaster. And it will do more than anything else in the modern history of this country to decimate the middle class. And I honestly believe it's being done intentionally.
I completely agree with that. That it's affecting our Social Security and the older people that are suffering from this services within Medicare or Medicaid. So forth. If you could further elaborate on that, it's the same way. That is the ones, not just right now us, of the young ones that are being affected, but our elderly that are the ones that are being affected in the long run.
Well, let's examine Obamacare just a little bit. So I've read that it started out in probably something else before this. I'm quite certain. Hillary Care became Romney Care, and now has morphed to Obamacare. This is from an article, One Turkey Run Blogspot. It says that they're mystified by how people, led by the media, fall victim to labels when all journalism training in English 101 composition classes teaches not to rely on buzzwords. They're unimaginative and or they're plagiaristic. Am I being plagiaristic right now? In other words, people copycat these words without any idea what they mean. By the way, that's OneTurkeyRunBlogspot.com, Obamacare, Romney Care, Hillary Care. And that's click and beware. She is for it, by the way. Hey, Mr. Charles Ocelli is coming in from the Ocelli Effect right here on UCY.TV on Saturdays. Welcome, Mr. Ocelli.
Hi, Vince. How you doing?
Great, man. Glad to have you. I love your show.
Thank you, man.
One of the best coins. Really great information. So, we're going to have really a panel of experts on tonight, which I'm not included. So I've been asked about Obamacare in the past and several things, like for instance the RFID, the implant. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that? Because I have something up here I'll share afterwards that says it's all just rumor and there's no such thing as it's not going to happen. What would you say to that, Chuck?
You're asking me about the RFID parts of it?
Yeah, because I'll before we go, I guess I can jump up here and tell you what I have on that because it's denied that. Okay, here it is. It says the Obamacare microchip RFID implant rumor comes from an earlier version, what would become Obamacare, Americans Affordable Health Care Choices Act of 2009, H.R. 3200. H.R. 3200 was an unsuccessful bill introduced in the House of Representatives on July 14, 2009. Page 1001 of H.R. 3200 included an amendment to Section 519 of the Food Drug Act, which allowed for data collection to facilitate analysis of post-market safety and outcomes data. From all classes 2 devices, an RFID chip is classified as a Class 2 device by the FDA. None of the wording cited below appears in the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, H.R. 3590, also known as Obamacare, although Section 519 of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act does still include an unamended passage on rules for Class 2 devices and data collection for them. I'll drop a link here with just a little bit more. It's saying, does Obamacare require Americans to be implanted with microchips? So I'm gonna copy this and drop into the chat. And Mr. Ocelli, please respond on that.
Well, there's been a tremendous amount of confusion regarding the entire thing because it is so massive and difficult to read. If you just listen to the language that Vince gave you, you understand how these things are worded. First of all, the secondary issue there is that was the House resolution which was previous to this bill. I don't think it's survived in the version it's in, but I'm not sure because I have not been able to get through the entire bill myself. There is another section on RFID chips somewhere in that mess of paperwork that is more directed toward the cards and the use in the cards. That was something else, but that's in the administrative sections. Okay. As far as these this notion, though, and I really want to give a little bit of a legitimate devil's advocacy to something I heard said a little earlier, and that is that the conditions that are being subscribed to the Affordable Care Act at this point are not necessarily conditions that were born of the implementation of that act. These sort of problems with the lower working class, of which I am part, okay, just for example, the idea about the hours being cut and the idea about difficulties, this stuff pre-existed. Any notion of this act coming into play, okay, and the conditions are being allowed by the overarching sort of power structure of the corporate interest groups, okay. This is something that pre-existed the Obamacare Act, and I don't think it's fair to pin it directly to that.
Absolutely.
Because this is a long-standing issue.
Yeah, it goes way back into Teddy Roosevelt. I think initially was advocating some type of social health care. That's not long after, matter of fact, when the pharmaceutical industry, the petrochemical industries really took off and started redirecting health care into what we have today, which is sick care. So there's no interest in any form or fashion, as far as I can tell, in curing people. It's only in treating them. Let me jump back over to Mr. Landry and let you give us some input, sir.
That's what I want to hear from you.
I would not disagree with what Charles said at all. And I'm not telling anybody that it is the beginnings of these issues. What I'm saying is it is a catalyst for the exacerbation of these issues. Yes, I'm going to be 60 years old August 19th. So I've been around long enough to see this stuff creeping in the door. But when the Obamacare Act specifically states that if you work over 30 hours, that your employer will be responsible to pay for your health care, okay, you are seeing, and this is documented, and I can pull out some articles and send them to you, Vincent, which show a very big upturn in companies either going offshore or full-time to part-time workers in order to see the premiums. Now, is it origination of this issue? No. As Charles is, and he said very eloquently, for many years. Just as corporatism has expanded in this country, that process. But what you have given these corporations is a mechanism to accelerate, exacerbate. Also is a lot of mid to small businesses either not putting people on people full-time or shifting them to part-time positions, because if they were to have to pay these premiums for Obamacare, they would go out of business. So, Charles, you are very right. Have no push. Which what we have seen in the shift towards part-time work, the shift towards lower-paying jobs, is something that has been happening for decades. But what we have seen is a catalyst for a major exacerbation of this. And what it is going to do upon full implementation is it's going to be a big kick in the teeth for middle America. I'm not the only one saying this.
You know, I've been looking for somebody that would take a pro-Obamacare stand, and I've not had any takers. What I've been seeing, I've been getting a lot of feedback, and that comes from middle America, is wow, you know, their cost of insurance has gone through the roof, as well as the deductibles. I see some other people maybe in the poorer class that benefit from it, but you know, really and truly, the poor were already covered with Medicaid. So, you know, I'm not too sure that this is great. I guess there was probably some cracks in the floor that people had fallen through, most certainly, that could not afford insurance. So, you know, I certainly don't have the answer for that. Yes.
I got one for you.
Okay.
All right. I'm unemployed and I'm seeking employment. So therefore, if I'm under those circumstances, correct? And it's like saying, okay, you're attempting to do something, but then and yet when you look at those circumstances, that's like saying, okay, you're under this. So therefore, by the stereotype, you can't receive something, or it's like universal healthcare, right? When you look at other countries, they can automatically get or receive something. Or even here in America, when you have a certain person trying to come in, and they can go, okay, this person's from somewhere else, and they have a tumor, so to say. But they can automatically receive something.
Hold on a second. I think somebody...
Hang on a second.
I think somebody went in the shower with their phone.
Yeah, we got some serious water noise somewhere.
Yeah. Where's that? It's not on my end.
Well, it's not mine. I was muted.
Yeah, that's good. Caller, I think it may be on your end. Go ahead and try to talk again. I don't know if you've got something.
Sorry, I wanted to hear what he had to say, that's all.
Yeah, for sure. Caller?
I don't know if does it come any better?
Yeah, that's better.
Much better, go ahead.
Okay. So it's like saying, okay, I don't know how to say this. I don't have the certain benefits. Correct?
Right, you were explaining that because you're unemployed and seeking employment, you're in that position now, you don't have the benefits, so therefore...
Okay, but when you're looking at this, they're trying to portray it, but it's not universal health care. When if you're in another place, or if someone else is coming from somewhere else here to America, right, somehow they're eligible. I mean, I know it's going to sound bad, but, okay, you have some Iraqi that comes in and go, okay, I have a brain tumor. But they're going to automatically take care of that and go, we'll take care of that. This is the only reason I say that is because I've seen it on the news before, okay? But compared to that, if I go right now and I go to the hospital because I have a particular condition, do you have an insurance card? That's the first issue. Do you have an insurance card? Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like going, okay, but this is where I'm coming from to go, this is what is going on here in America. But that's not what they are portraying. That's not what they are doing. Half the time when you look at it to go, oh, we can go do this in this other country. We can put this money, billions or millions of dollars in another country, but you can't even fix Detroit.
Ain't that crazy? Yeah, absolutely. I've looked in the past, I've looked at different models from different countries around the world, and if there was to be universal health care, it appears to me that you could take the good and cut out the bad from the many that there are and come up with a pretty good plan. But that begs the question, is it permissible to rob from one to give to another? Is this no more than legalized thievery? What if you don't pay it? What's going to happen to you? You're going to come with a gun. They're going to where they start at. Well, with the fine, yeah. Will they jail you? Roger, I'd like you to add in. Coming up,
Mr. Landry?
What I'm getting at,
yes.
I don't understand how they can put so much money out towards other countries, but they never pay it for us.
That's a great point.
That's agreed. I agree with that, but let's take this one step further. Let's go to the root of this. What is this program called? It is called the Affordable Health Care Act. All right, just Google this, okay? Affordable. I understand. Google this.
But to me, it's a T4. It's a eugenics program.
Okay, I'm trying to get to a point here. Okay, if you do any research on it at all, at the multitudes of people who have already gone on board this program or who have done the research to go on in the program or through their employer have already been switched over to this program. And what you're finding out is that a massive majority of these people are paying premium, exceptions to this rule, but they're a small minority. A massive majority of these people are paying a much higher premium today than they were paying prior to the Affordable Health Care Act. So what we have today is here's one more lie. You're going to be able to afford this. It's going to ensure so many more Americans. I got to tell you something. I personally know a dozen people who cannot afford the Affordable Health Care Act who used to have insurance. But you're right. We're spending not millions, not billions, but over $1 trillion a year if you talk about the military and what we give to other countries.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty sickening, but that's part of the plan. Any wording from any government agency is generally doublespeak, so Orwellian. It's not even funny anymore. I mean, black is white, obviously.
No, it's not.
My observation thus far, okay, has been that effectively, okay, and I know that this is going to get me a little bit of flack. I really don't care. Bottom line is that effectively we could have much cheaper insurance and just bought them policies, first of all. The second thing is the way this has been done, the way this has been structured is such a cluster screw job that it is a compromise between all these different corporate interests and all these different lobbying groups that have caused all this interference in the plan. It is such a mess that, we're only feeding into the existing system. If they were to revamp the entire system, this would be a different story. But it's not affordable care. It's absolutely been contaminated with the corporate interests. Okay, now I don't know what the eugenics angle is exactly. I'm wondering what you exactly mean by that.
The eugenics program?
Yeah. There are many in place, but go ahead.
That's like when you're thinking of the older folks, right? And you got somebody that's in, say, elder care, that they're in a, not hospice or a certain health care, that they would literally take advantage of the in particular elders that are in that system. Like, okay, going that out of nowhere. All right, you're there for, say, some type of rehabilitation. But on top of that these people would manipulate that to go, oh, you have a kidney disease, you have this or you have that. Now, out of nowhere, where did that come from, right? You're there for rehabilitation, meaning physical therapy, right?
Okay, so what we're talking about is settling on the death panel idea. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I believe that's what's really the issue.
It could be many.
But go ahead.
No, it could be many symptoms so that they would want to portray. Meaning that they would try to say, okay, we want money, so therefore that's like saying, how many bags of saline solution that I give you, right, that really truthfully only cost $1, but we're going to charge you $1,000 per saline solution. Just because we try to say that this is what we need to give you.
Okay.
That's only an example.
I understand what you're saying, but you do understand that under the current system, this is already being done by these HMOs and everything else, right?
Absolutely.
Sit there doing cost-benefit analysis that are basically allowing people to die because it costs them less. You do understand that that's occurring now on the corporate level, right?
Absolutely. And let's take it, we can take that even one step further, okay? One of the first things I stated was that we are losing doctors. Doctors are saying, we're not going to play this Obamacare game. And they are leaving their practice. This is happening at a higher rate than at any point in recent history. We're seeing new people who are going into college to become doctors who are changing their majors. So let's say we end up with, and there are many experts who said that if Obamacare was ever implemented fully and had no issues, there would be a serious shortage of doctors. Now it's going to be an even bigger shortage. So who gets care and who doesn't? Who gets care and who doesn't, and who makes that decision? I'm going to tell you right now, if you've got 30 or 40 or 50 years of productive life left for the state, you're going to get a priority If you're 75 years old and you're on Medicare or Social Security and you're probably on your way out, are they going to use those assets to keep that gentleman alive or the 25-year-old who can produce revenue for the state for another 50 years? It is a fact.
25-year-old.
But it is a fact. These things are going to happen. For anybody to think they're not going to happen, it's got their head buried up their butt. They're not looking at the big picture. There is going to be a shortage of doctors. There's going to be a shortage of doctors like this country has never seen. It's already happening.
Yeah, that's been happening for a while. Hey,
yes, it has.
I'm going to answer. And Jessica.
Like the doctor is going to tell you that. What do you want?
Hey, Jessica's back in. Hey, do me a favor, everybody. Let's pause for a moment. Let me let Jessica finish up. I think I cut her short, and then I want to take just a few minutes to talk with Roger about the Liberty Beacon Project, and we'll come back into Obamacare. So let's hit a pause. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, Vincent.
Hey, yeah.
Just gonna chat really briefly about GMOs. That's cool. Kind of ties into what you guys are hacking away at.
You bet.
Okay, well, we've all heard about it. Mostly, actually, I'm still meeting people that are like, "What's a GMO?" So, you know, we all know they're exceptionally deadly for humans. Yet, 80 to 90% of what's made available to us, you know, thanks to another abomination, and this Monsanto Protection Act. Gave the globalist cabal control over our food supply. And you know what? We have to fight back. It's a public health issue at least. And I'm demanding a complete ban of all GMOs. I'm joining forces with a lot of people out there, who are really trying to survive this beast. Really, gene regulators are being made available to us, and it's transforming us. Keyword. It really is transforming us into something else. It's given us cancer, organ failure, Alzheimer's, diabetes, death, etc., so on. Monsanto knows this well, and so does Obama. They're in bed together with all these big biotech companies, and they've birthed this humongous monster GMO scenario unfolding before us. It's disastrous. And, you know, I'm just trying to say you can't mess with us like that. You can't mess with nature like that. You know, you can't forcibly insert genetically engineered genes into random host genomes at random locations, introducing all this bacteria and calling it food. You know, we know that this is a highly mutagenic process, and we know genes do not work singly, but as a part of a highly integrated network functioning, I don't know, for a millennia. This Roundup, Agent Orange, etc., and so on, all these poisons that they are spraying, you know, you can't wash it off. It can't be washed off. It's in the seed, it's in our food, and it's killing us. I'm just trying to say, along with everybody else out there, organic farmers, you know, people who know this, clean and healthy food's a basic human right, Vincent. We've got to change this. You know, we've got to unplug like these doctors changing their majors. We've got to unplug from this beast. We've got to grow our own food, our own gardens. We've got to supply our own, you know, healthy food and connect with local farmers who are really struggling. They get hit the worst. Their crops are being destroyed one by one, but we can get together. We can drive Monsanto to the grave, but we have to speak up. You know, come on over, join the petition group, connect with March Against Monsanto. They're everywhere. May 24th, there's a particularly awesome gathering I want to chat just a few more minutes about in San Antonio, Lions Park near Breckenridge Park on Broadway. From 12 to 4, they're going to be having an awesome get-together to really to hype up and show you all what organic farmers can make available. Okay.
I'm sorry, I got to interrupt you. We're getting a lot of background noise, I think, from the other caller. Can you hit mute on your phone? Hold on, Jessica.
Yeah.
Other caller. Hello? Okay. Hey, let's see, 5:35, we're rolling along. Caller, let me, Jessica, hold on just a second again. Go ahead and let me ask you to go ahead and finish up and, I'm sorry, I'm going to take you off the call. There's a lot of bad background noise coming in. Would you like to add anything else?
I really said all I had to say. I wanted to mention March Against Monsanto.
I'm sorry. Wait, I'm going to interrupt you again. That wasn't you I was talking to. That was the other caller.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. But I guess they don't hear me. Anyways, hey, go ahead and wrap up. We're gonna bring, Roger Landry in. We're going to talk some about the, Liberty Beacon project. And, then we're going to come back into Obamacare so we can segue right on into Ralph Epperson, who's going to, at the top of the next hour. Okay, go ahead, Jessica.
Okay, thanks, Vincent. Just want to end with get together with March Against Monsanto in San Antonio, May 24th, Lions Park. Come on over to the 100,000 Petition Coalition and join our Facebook group. Support my band Texas GMOs. Petition, please. And I just want to thank you, Vincent, for letting me come on your awesome show.
Thanks. I really appreciate having me on.
Jessica, don't go anywhere, please.
Okay, stand by.
I'm here.
Jessica, this is Roger Landry from the Liberty Beacon Project.
Hi, Roger.
If you go to thelibertybeacon.com, one word, thelibertybeacon.com, you will see that we are a huge opponent on GMOs. I have done a 6-show series on that. I've written a dozen articles on that, and we will support your event. We will support your petition. Please get a hold of me. We have at least a dozen websites we can put that information across, and you will not find more support from any organization on this planet. So I love what you're saying. I love what you're talking about, and we'd like to do anything we can do to help, including promoting your event. If you've got any articles we can put out for you, let's talk, please.
Roger, I'm really thankful to tears. I'm motivated to connect with like-minded people because I'm tired of seeing my friends and family struggle with this. So I thank you very much.
Jessica, if you have any doubt, just go to thelibertybeacon.com and look in the health section, and the GMO articles you will come up with will anger the crap out of you. So believe me, let's get together, let's talk, let's see what we can do to push your project.
I will put
Thank you so much, Roger.
I will put you guys together in contact, by tomorrow, for sure.
Vince, also pointer to my Facebook page, please. Because I run that stuff in my newsfeed all the time. You know that.
I sure will. It's the Chelly Effect on Facebook, and I'll get you over there too, Jessica. Yeah.
I'm so grateful. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Roger, so much.
And that's Chuck O'Celli also from the O'Celli Effect, and he's here on Saturdays on UCY.TV.
Well, I would have to say thank you, Jessica, because every time I hear someone else step up and make their voice heard, it makes me just a little bit more, I'm a little bit more empowered in my feeling that there will eventually be enough of us to put a stop to this.
That's right.
Exactly. Right on.
And that's I think that's what's behind the Liberty Beacon. What y'all are doing there is really bringing people together. And this has been my precept for some time is, connecting voices and getting people together and connecting. And, we don't all necessarily agree upon the same things in life or which direction to proceed, but there are many things that we will find that we can agree upon. And so, let's take hands and take flight from there.
Absolutely. And basically what you just described is the foundation of the Liberty Beacon Project itself. The motto of the organization is one voice can speak, but many unified voices can roar. Damn it, it's time for we the people to roar. I don't care whether you're pushing back against GMOs because they're killing us. I don't care if you're pushing back against vaccines because they're sterilizing us. I don't care if you're pushing back against chemtrails because they're doing all of the above. I don't care if you're pushing back against political tyranny because they're turning us all into serfs and subjugating us. I don't care if you're pushing back against perpetual warfare because we're killing off more people on this planet than at any point in history since the last World War. Anything you're pushing back on that is hurting we the people, and that's not a term that we have a patent on in this country, because the United States doesn't have a patent on either tyranny or liberty. And the Liberty Beacon Project is in 30 countries around the world and growing. What I say here is the litmus test for being a part of the Liberty Beacon Project is, do you realize the system is rigged or broken? If you tell me, no, it isn't, the door will slam in your face so fast you're going to get windburn on your nose. But if you can tell me, yes, the system is rigged or broken, then we have a point of commonality. I don't care why you think it's broken. From that point, you're part of a team. And that team is a critical mass of voices that will eventually say, we've had enough. And there'll be nothing anybody can do about it, because the most powerful entity on this planet is 7 billion people. Nothing trumps that.
Well said.
Yeah, we're going to reach a tipping point. Hey, let me add Mark in. Mark's called in, and let's. Before we do, Roger, give out the Liberty Beacon, give out some sites where people can get in contact, and I'm going to post up, and then I'll go, because I already got it copied ready to paste, and then I'll go back and get the links and drop them back in. But for those listening downstream, give a shout out to the Liberty Beacon and your other project that you're real close with.
The main site, the original site, the flagship site of the Liberty Beacon Project is exactly that, thelibertybeacon.com. We have many other sites. One of our other main U.S. sites is thefallingdarkness.com, exactly the way it's spelled, all one word, The Falling Darkness. We have sites in Australia, we have sites in Canada, we have sites in right now in South Africa, in the UK, we're putting up sites in Ireland, Scotland, the Netherlands, Germany, and I can continue on. But if we do realize one thing, and that is there are many issues that need to be solved in this country. Are we focused on the United States? Yes, we are. But as I said, we don't have a patent on liberty or tyranny. So we do focus on the United States. One of the biggest reasons is you can't give people advice on why their house is dirty if you live in a dirty house. So yes, we know we've got to clean up our own mess. But for anybody to think that any one country that solves its problems is going to solve the world's problems is wrong. This has to be a global endeavor, because everything that's being perpetrated on the American people is being perpetrated across this planet. The elite know no borders, no national boundaries. They rule the world, the planet.
Absolutely.
So when we make an affront on any of these organizations, anything we term within the powers of the elite, it has to be as a global movement. Yes, we know America needs to be focused on, but we cannot leave the world out, because if we do, we'll never accomplish anything.
Yeah, they say that good fences make good neighbors, but remember, borders not only keep people out, but keep you in.
They keep people in. Yes, they do.
And I'm reaching a point where I'm believing that we're either all going to survive together or we're all going to perish together. It's that simple.
Charles, that's perfect. And that is extremely accurate, which is why I say the United States, you need to get off your butt and realize we do not have a patent on tyranny or liberty. This is a global issue. And I've got to tell you, when we spoke about GMOs earlier, GMOs are the biggest threat to life on this planet today. And most people will push back when I say that, and they're wrong. Because there are 1,100 scientists globally who have signed petitions stating that we have screwed the biosphere up so bad with GMOs to this point, it may never recover. If the biosphere collapses, so does humanity. Everybody on this planet is either eating GMOs or eating food that's being sprayed by genetically engineered toxins, or they're spraying it in the skies. This is the biggest issue, and it's not an American issue. It's a freaking global issue.
Very scary. And you know, important, it ties the GMOs in with the Obamacare, because I'll promise you, every major issue of this world, if you'll look at it closely, you'll see how it links and ties together into each other, from geoengineering and of our food crops, our our whole atmosphere.
I did a radio show last week called the Liberty Beacon Rant, where I spent 90 minutes tying chemtrails, GMOs, and vaccines and Big Pharma all together in the same cabal. And I gave facts. I stated facts. I gave links. I gave peer-reviewed studies. None of it was a guess. Anybody who does any research at all can see all of these mechanisms are being controlled from the same control room.
Absolutely. Hey, hey, Chuck.
You still have your notes on that, Mr. Landry?
I can send you the show. I can send you.
I'll tell you what, I'll do you better.
Right here, but I'll get it to Vince. Excuse me?
I said I'll do you one better. You can do one with me if you want and focus on that.
Awesome.
As long as I can talk about these things, my friend, I don't care where I talk. I'll stand on one foot in the middle of a garbage dump, and speak about it for 2 hours. These are things people have to hear.
Yes. Hey, Chuck, let me ask you a favor. Let me hand you the mic. Bring Mark in. Let him get his call in. I'm going to step away from the mic here for just a couple minutes. I'll be right back. But, let me hand it over to you and, to Roger. I'll bring, Mark in for his call and then, address that issue and I'll be right back. Okay?
Sure. Okay. Mr. Landry, I definitely want to get back to more of what you're saying, but Mark has been waiting. Mark, you had something you wanted to add in?
Well, this is what I want to add in. If we go back here as far as the Obamacare goes, as far as like when it was first launched, as you all were fully aware that they were having, problems with the website, people trying to sign up and, this and that. And then, people had to wind up, calling in. I think it's some kind of a toll-free number. They have to call so many times to speak with somebody to have issues solved. And then the thing that I disliked about it is that you have people who have to sit on the phone from like 5 or 10 minutes to almost an hour, and I think well, let me just put it this way. I will be so glad when all this Obamacare thing is said and done, because it's just getting like it's way out of hand.
Well, the problem with that, Mark, and you dropped out for a minute there, but I think we understood what you were saying, is that it's a continuing problem. It's not just going to be this bill and fixing the bugs with it. It's not going to be that simple, okay? But the sick care system in this country was broken long before this bill. And this supposed, reconstitution of this thing was so terribly tainted by the corporate interests that there was no way that this thing ever had a chance. I mean, and it's silliness to sit here and discuss the website and all that nonsense, because anything that's launched like that is always screwed up, especially if it's in government hands. So, big surprise? Not for me. The deal is that, to me, that's where that stands. This is the beginning of the problem, actually. And if it continues, it's only going to be added into and made worse by more interference with something that was already at its base completely ridiculous. So I don't know what anybody else wants to add in about that.
Why don't we just add in, and if we're throwing rocks here, why don't we just add in that we were promised Obamacare wouldn't add 1 penny to the federal deficit, when the GAO has already stated over the next 20 years it will add another $6.2 trillion to the deficit. Just another lie to add to the pile. You can't tell me that all of these extremely intelligent people that put this bill together didn't know that it was going to add $6 trillion to the deficit, but yet the GAO, who put a report together in less than 3 weeks, found this out? One lie after another, my friends.
It is sad. You're correct. It is extremely sad. And that GAO study, in fact, is a minimization of exactly how bad this can be.
Yes, it is.
It's not even, look.
It's been estimated to be almost $24 trillion. High end.
Exactly what he said as earlier, sick care.
Right. Precisely. But the healthcare system, the supposed healthcare system, the sick care system again, was completely overrun with this garbage to begin with. Okay,
Yeah.
now we have a government bully that is added in on the disaster. That's all it is. Okay, that's my view of it. I don't know. You know what? Again, I still can't read that huge stack of documents there. Okay, and the language is different.
Yeah, and see, this is what I want to ask you all as well. Now, they're saying that that for people that do not sign up for Obamacare, that they'll be hit with a penalty. But why the penalty? I mean, I just don't. I'm really not catching the whole penalty thing. I mean, what is that all about?
A penalty means that a penalty means that this is supposed to be shared by every citizen in this country. So if you do not sign up, but yet you use healthcare in any way, shape, or form, then you need to pay your fair share. Now, the teeth in that are very, very dull, because what it means is the IRS will be responsible for pushing that penalty on you. The only mechanism they have to exercise that penalty is if you file a tax return and you have money coming back. They can withhold a portion equal to that penalty. But if you are outside of the realm, if you're either a senior or you're somebody who is earning below the amount of money that requires you to file a tax return, then you will never pay that penalty because the IRS, in fact, has no teeth in you whatsoever. So again, what it means is everybody else has to pay more.
Mr. Landry, I'm sorry. Do you know how the IRS became the enforcement arm for this?
How they became the enforcement arm? It's written into the bill.
But exactly under what sort of statute previous to this or whatever does the IRS have that enforcement mechanism?
Now they actually, if you stop and think about that, they actually should never have had a part of this because it was sold to the American public that it was not a tax.
That was the point I wanted made.
Right. Once it became a tax, then you empowered the IRS to become the enforcement branch of the law. Legalese. So now the IRS, since it is a tax, and who's responsible for the collection of taxes? Internal Revenue Service. Okay? Right. So now they are empowered to issue penalties to all citizens who don't meet the minimum requirements of the program. So what we've had is, since this bill was passed, it has been modified so many times, and it is a bill in flux. This is not legal. When a bill is passed, it has to be as it was passed. And there are actually senators and congressmen who are trying to bring this to the courts because Obama and the administration and all of his flunkies are modifying the bill on the run. This, my friends, is illegal beyond belief because what we're being presented with right now is not the bill that was passed by Congress. If this came down to total legality and it went in front of the Supreme Court, they would have no choice but to say, this is not the same bill. This needs to go back to Congress to be voted on again. Do you think you'll ever see that? I doubt it. No. About the same day you're going to see snowflakes on the ground in hell.
You got it.
Okay, so let me see if I'm understanding you. In other words, so like for an example, so they're trying to say that if you don't sign up by a certain date, it's like in other words that people be hit like some kind of a fine or something like that.
It's a penalty, and the only that penalty because you have to prove when you file your taxes. You have to prove now that you have actually had an insurance program since the beginning of the year or since the empowerment of the Affordable Care Act. If you can't prove that, there is a penalty, I believe, of 1% right now of your household income. And the only way they can draw that penalty from you is if you file a tax return. If you don't file a tax return or you're not required to file a tax return, they cannot penalize you.
Here's my problem. How can I be subjected to the U.S. corporation compared to the U.S. government on a product?
Because letters on your birth certificate, you are a citizen of the corporate USA.
You're already property of the state.
No,
sir.
You are an
I'm a
asset
legal
to the
fiction.
corporate America.
I'm a legal fiction.
By default,
Therefore,
you
I
do
do not
belong to.
exist because I'm dead. I'm dead from the time that I was born.
The straw man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm a straw man. So therefore, if I'm dead, how can you rule me to be something that I'm not?
Because you're an asset. Because you're an asset, and corporations draw on assets.
Do you want to take me to court? Because my name is in full capitals. That's not who I am.
For as long
I am a legal fiction.
That's a whole other topic.
You do not want to summon. You do not want to summon.
We're not going to have time.
You do not want to summon my spirit. You don't
For
want to
as-
summon my spirit.
No, I understand,
That's what
brother.
I'm getting
But look. For as long as you are going to participate in the fictitious banking system, okay, that corporation has a piece of you at least. That's a guarantee.
If I was a corporation, I would be able to get a loan, and therefore I would be able to have the same amount of money.
I didn't say that you are. I didn't say you are a corporation. I said that corporation, which holds a piece of all of us who participate in that banking system.
That's
Your
right.
birth certificate.
Okay.
Your birth certificate states. Your birth certificate places United States, and like any corporation on assets, when a corporation with half a brain gets rid of it. So let me ask you another question.
Mr. Landry, hold on just a second, because you're breaking up a little bit. Just stop a second and try again, okay?
I would agree with you. We're
Yeah, we're losing you really bad. Dadgum.
Yeah, we lost him pretty bad there. Mr. Landry, can you try again?
So again, though, you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you back.
What truth do they have that they have any rule over you
That's
or
not right.
any other person as that in particular corporation? Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what? We're not going to have time. We're not going to have time to go into that, really. We're going out in about 3 minutes. I have Ralph Epperson standing by, and he is going to he's going to give a lecture. So anybody wishing can remain online on mute and stand by. And then we're going
that generalization. That's all I was giving.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. Don't think I don't. We just don't have time really to get into that. It goes pretty deep. So
no, I believe in the necessity of being a sovereign citizen. That is something that needs to be. But the current conditions are not that way.
Exactly.
Okay, they're not that way. It's just not the way the world is at the moment. Okay, and as long as we are participating in that banking, as long as we are participating in that banking system, then we are influenced by it. It's that simple.
Okay, guys, we're gonna come up. Hey, there's options to opt out. I dropped that into chat earlier. I was scrolling back to Roger. Do we have you back? No, Roger fell. Okay, listen, I'm fixing to bring in Mr. Ralph Epperson here in a couple of minutes. You guys go ahead and finish up. And like I said, you can mute up and stay. And we're going to come back with some questions for Mr. Epperson in about the last 15 minutes of the program. And so we're going to take a listen. You guys want to finish something up real quick? Last couple of minutes?
No, I'll just mute up and chill, Vince.
So, Mark?
Yeah, what I was going to say is that, I agree with everything that everybody was saying. I'm not disagreeing with what anybody is saying, so.
Awesome. Thanks for your call, Mark. I appreciate it. Caller? No? I think we got a call. Choke. I had Ralph and I lost him. Okay, caller. Finish up and, like I said, you can stay with us or, call back in too. I might have to have, Ralph call in by phone. Let me try this again. I have this problem with, same kind of thing was happening to, Jose a bunch of times. Let me send him a message. Chuck, go ahead and take the mic for me and finish up here while I go get Mr. Epperson, would you please?
Sure, no problem. Look, this is definitely a topic that needs to be discussed at some point. I think you should definitely spend an entire show devoted to the idea of sovereign citizenship. This is, the illegality of the United States corporation is something that does need to be addressed. The rule by fiat, the rule by executive order that has gone on, the amorphous sort of changing laws that we have been forced to endure in a lot of ways needs to be addressed. These issues are all rather complex, though, and I don't think it would be fair to try and air them in such a sort of dear Lord, that is noisy. I think that it would be unfair to try and air them in such a condensed fashion without giving them the proper due and having stuff prepared so that we could show people the results of the court cases that have gone on, the actual laws and the actual decrees that have put this sort of system into place. But I say emphatically that for as long as you are going to participate in that matrix of the international banking system, for as long as you are going to do that, then your penalties and such are going to be in that system. So the honest thing is, if we could find a way to not depend on the dollar, they couldn't take dollars from us, could they? Wouldn't that be an interesting solution? There is plenty of legal remedies and there are plenty of social moral remedies that could possibly be discussed for this. And I think that it would be of tremendous advantage for people to really to examine this kind of stuff on the most basic level and to start to take action for themselves as individuals. I am trying to do this stuff for myself as well, but it is not easy, okay? None of this stuff is easy. Just like trying to avoid the genetically modified organisms in food, the genetically modified everything. My wife likes to bring up the fact that every time she goes to buy a package of chicken, she takes a look at the size of the breasts in the chicken pack and wonders how the hell big that chicken would have to be in order for that breast to make sense. You look at your food, you look at the chemicals, you look at the skies, you look at everything around you. And as Mr. Landry was saying, this is a systemic problem. This is not one issue versus another issue. And I really wish that many more people would recognize that this is something where we're going to have to unify together and seek a way to adjust the entirety of this planet that we share. If we do not, as I said many times, we will either perish together or survive together. The choice is up to each individual. Okay, and it looks like Vince has somebody joined in.
Yes, this is Mr. Epperson from Arizona, and author, lecturer, written The Unseen Hand, and many others, given a lot of presentations. A fantastic speaker. I'll ask everybody to mute up and stand by, and here later in this hour we will be taking your calls and questions. So welcome.
Well, Mr. Epperson, I don't know if Vince is fading out there, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, yes.
All righty, sir. As he was saying, you're an author, and you've done many studies, and The Unseen Hand is the name of one of your books?
Yes, I started researching in 1962, and I wrote my first book, The Unseen Hand, in 1985. It's still being published. In fact, I'm getting ready to reprint it for about the 22nd time or something. It's still selling.
Where is it that's available, by the way, sir, before you go on?
Well, it's on Amazon.com. Your local bookstore can have it, or you can get it from my catalog on the internet, and I'll provide that information maybe towards the end. So any way you want, at Amazon.com, your local bookstore, or from me.
Excellent, sir. So we're going to sit back and take a listen to you now, okay?
Okay, fine, whatever you want. I talked to Vincent about this, and we talked about discussing Obamacare and what its purpose is. And I'm going to try to explain that because I am very concerned about this for reasons that are not being commonly discussed. Let's go back to, first of all, President Obama has turned over, in fact, Congress has turned over 1/8 of the gross national product over to the government to handle the this Obamacare program. That's a big bundle. That's 1/8 of every dollar spent goes for medical care in this nation. I presume the reason the government decided to do this because they were very disturbed with the private insurance companies because they were ripping us off and they were very inefficient and charging things and making strange decisions. Well, I want to point out that so they turned to the most efficient agency they could. That was, of course, the government. So I'm now going to build a case to show you that indeed our government is the most efficient at one specific task. And I'm going to just read 15 newspaper articles that I've collected since 1999 about the government being very efficient. I'm not going to detail the story, just the headline and the year it was published to show you this has been going on since at least 1999. And then we'll conclude that government is indeed very efficient, and that's why they turned to the government to do this job. And then that'll explain to you what's happening with Obamacare. 1999, pygmy owls to cost the economy $425 million apiece. 2006, fraudulent Katrina aid may total $1 billion. 2008, U.S.-led rebuilding of Iraq, $117 billion failure, review says. August of 2009, U.S. rural airfare subsidies about to soar higher. They're costing us $175 million a year to subsidize people who buy an airplane ticket on an airline that doesn't fly very many people. 2009, report cites $47 billion in bogus Medicare claims. 2010, inmates sought tax refunds of $130 million from the United States. 2011, brand name drugs cost Medicaid $329 million extra. 2011, probe, IRS paid more than $500 million in undeserved home buyer credits. Here in Tucson, we had a strange thing. A motel that had fallen into disuse was upgraded for $25 million. And they took 112 units and converted them into small unit apartments, in essence, for the poor. And when you divide 25 million by 112 units, you get a cost per unit of $215,000. Now, a motel room was maybe 30 by 30 or something. I don't know, very small. But for $215,000, you could have bought a 4-bedroom house. The 2011 Return Aid FEMA tells disaster victims $22 million. This was in the Cedar River flood in Iowa. The panel at 2011, fraud and waste in 2 war zones has cost the United States up to $60 billion. 2012, Postal Service girds for historic default, $5 billion. 2012, IRS gave out billions in refunds to identity thieves, $5 billion. Post office record shows record loss of $16 billion in fiscal 2012. Use of food stamps swells even as the economy improves. 48 million now people on the food stamps, $25 billion a year. Fast food pay, 2013, fast food pay puts $7 billion cost on taxpayers. Report IRS refunded $4 billion to identity thieves, 2013. 2013 again, post office reports record loss of $5 billion this year. And just a couple of weeks ago, I watched a TV thing. Some Atlanta TV station, Channel 2, reported that the State Department was rebuilding mosques Muslim mosques in Cairo for $770 million. So that means that they don't separate church and state except in the United States. Yes, indeed, the government is indeed the most efficient agency in the world at wasting money. That's what government's purpose is, to find ways to waste money. None of this is going to straighten out. That's been going on since 1999. These are only the ones I found in my local newspaper. I'm sure it's replete with this. Our government intends to waste money. Why? Now, the next step in our discussion...
That's in black and white.
Hold on, caller. I'm going to ask you to stand by, and we'll take calls, comments, and questions at the end of the presentation, okay?
Thank you. Here's why. Let me try to explain why. All spending, I learned this in college, all spending is divided into two forms. One is called discretionary spending, and the other is called non-discretionary spending. Now, let's define the two. Non-discretionary spending are those payments you must make out of your monthly income. You got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay your car insurance, you got to pay the car license, you got to pay the monthly payment, your heat, your light, your water, etc. So that's non-discretionary. You can't say, well, I don't think I'll pay my monthly bill for my mortgage. If you do, you lose your house. It's called non-discretionary spending. Everything else is called discretionary spending. Now, if the government wastes money, it's taking money out of the discretionary spending. In other words, when the tax goes up and your income doesn't go up, you have less to spend on discretionary spending. Well, I can't afford to take a vacation. I can't afford to go see grandma. I can't afford to go out and eat dinner. I can't afford to buy my son a car. I can't afford to send my kid to college. Why? Because the government is wasting money intentionally to further erode the discretionary spending. And you can see that. The average income in America is down something like $4,000 per household. Why? Because government finds ways to waste money. That is the purpose of Obamacare, to further erode that. Now, to prove that, let me get into an article that was published about 2013 when this whole thing started about enrolling. There was an Associated Press article in my local newspaper. It said that a couple were paying $800, I'll be around to the nearest $100, just to make it easier to understand, $800 a month for their medical insurance. And it was canceled because their company didn't match up with the requirements of Obama, because they said, we're going to cancel, here's one of the 5 million. So they decided to get on the internet and find out what else they could do, and they found the cheapest item, one they could, and they bought it for $1,200 a month. $800 to $1,200. That's $400 a month going out for medical insurance, which means that's $400 less that they're going to have for their discretionary spending. So now we can't take a vacation. Now we can't go see grandma. Now we can't buy the son a car. Now we can't. You see what I'm saying? The purpose of that is to further erode discretionary spending. Now, let me continue with that. Their deductible, according to the Associated Press article, was $2,500 a year. Once they got to that level, then it's all maybe fully covered, maybe some slight deductibles, but the deductible per year is $2,500. The new deductible is $12,000 a year. Now, what does the difference be that $9,500 come from? Their discretionary spending, because it now becomes a non-discretionary. You got to pay that, or you're going to lose your insurance. Do you see what's going on? We're getting an erosion into our discretionary spending. It's happening around the globe. Why are we buying oil from foreign producers? Well, the reason is, now this one I can't really concretely conclude that this is true, but I believe it is. Let's say it that way. When we buy gas from the local gas station, that man pays the refiner, or maybe the guy that shipped it in, and then that goes back to the ship carrier, and then the real money ends up in the hands of the people that in the foreign nation that produce So that's the way the dollars are disappearing from the United States. I don't think they come back. In other words, the people in Saudi Arabia take the money and keep it there. They buy more. In fact, Saudi Arabia buys bonds and builds big buildings, and it has a high standard of living. In other words, the dollar bill is probably their major currency circulation, and it doesn't come back. Now, when you buy a gallon of gas from your local station, who bought it from the local refiner, and the local refiner got the oil, he paid the employees, American employees, to work on the oil rigs, and he paid the truck drivers to deliver it, and he paid the clerks to keep the records, and he paid the engineers to study, and all these people. And then they took their money and went to the grocery store and bought there, and then the grocery store hired people, and the people that got hired took their money and went to the restaurant, bought the car, TV set, everything else. In other words, the money circulates. That's the secret of wealth. You circulate the money locally. So once it's produced, it recirculates again. But if the money goes to Saudi Arabia, it doesn't circulate anymore. It's wasted. It's thrown out the window. And if it's no longer a discretionary thing, no longer a discretionary, it now becomes non-discretionary, and you can't go see Grandma. You can't take the kids to the Disneyland. Why? That was what they were using before, because their wages are going down. And then when they lose their house, what do? All that equity is gone. They lose their jobs. This is all happening by design. The major issue in this election is going to be income redistribution, income inequality. Now, here's the logic. See, we dumb Americans, we have this extra money that we spend on our own things. We buy a TV set, and we buy a trip to Las Vegas, and we go for a vacation, and we put new tires on the car, and we send our kids to school. We go to the restaurant, we go to the movies, go to a play once in a while. All these things, that's called discretionary spending. That's what we do as free people. That money circulates again, and someone comes back and buys from us, and then we recirculate it again. Now that's but see, that's not very nice when there's poor people in the country. America still is the largest charitable nation in the world. We do more for charity than any other nation, probably all the others combined. But that's not enough, because there's still poverty in the country. And Obama says, like he told Joe the plumber back in 2008, I guess it was, when he was running for Congress. Remember that? He met this guy out in the streets in some city around Chicago, and they had a discussion. The media covered it, and he told Joe the plumber, sharing the wealth is good for everybody, isn't it? No, it's not. If you lose your own money and you earned it, what's the incentive to keep producing? There's none. I asked a question. 47 million people are on food stamps. If food stamps are such a great idea, why don't we all go on food stamps? Huh? I like to get free. Huh?
That's what they want to give.
Hey, caller.
Right.
Caller. Hey, I keep getting background noises. Let me drop you from the call and call back in the latter part of the show. I'm not trying to be rude, but
sure.
Okay, thanks, bro. Appreciate it.
That's what they want to give.
All right, we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Okay, that wasn't me. You said that too. I'm still on the. Okay, very good.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It was just noisy there. Mm-hmm.
Now notice, if we earn the money, it belongs to us. Now, we agree to buy a house. We agree to buy a car. We don't have to, but when we do, we sign a contract. And that contract obligates us to make a payment, and that goes into our non-discretionary spending. We buy a car on time. We buy tires maybe on time. We send our kids to college and borrow money. That's all non-discretionary. The rest of it's free. And we are still, even in this nation, the most generous people in the world for donating voluntarily to charity, but it's still not enough. There's too much poverty. So Barack Obama says to Joe the plumber, sharing the wealth is a good idea, isn't it? But notice what he's doing. Now, I'll give you a comparison. Jerry Lewis, I believe he's now retired from this, but Jerry Lewis for, 20 or 30 years ran a telethon for muscular dystrophy, and people called in and make pledges. That's voluntary charity. That's what made America great. Once we know there's a need, we fill it. Except we don't do enough, see. We still have some of this discretionary spending. Now, let me give you a little door-to-door example. I made this up, and I think it'll be very appropriate. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and I have a house, and it's all paid up. I paid the mortgage, so I live there quietly. I'm no business. The doorbell rings. I go to the door Saturday morning, and there's a man with a piece of paper credential saying, "I'm from the local charity. We're raising money to feed the poor." I said, "Oh, that's a great idea. Would you be willing to donate, Mr. Voluntarily donate?" And I said, "Yes, I will." I look at my wallet. I said, "Gee, all I can afford is $10. Well, that's fine. $10 is better than nothing. So he takes my $10 and walks away. Now, a little while later, the doorbell rings again, a couple hours later, and I go to the doorbell, and he says, "Listen, we're from the local agency collecting money to help the poor." And he's got credentials. And I say, "Gee, I wish I could give you more. I just gave $10. That's all I can afford right now." He said, "Well, Mr. Everson, we looked at the size of your home, and we know how much your payments are, and we know the car you have over there, and you know you're single, and we think you can give $20. And I said, "Well, no, I can't. I can afford." And the guy pulls a gun on me and says, "Mr. Everson, you can afford $10. We want $10 or I'll shoot you." So I said, "Well, I guess I get it, go into my wallet, and I dig out another $10 I was going to use to buy a pizza or something. I give it to them. I say, "Okay." So now, after he leaves, I call the police. And the police said, "What happened?" I said, "Well, the man rang my doorbell. He said he was raising money for the poor, and he only offered no help. And he held a gun to my belly and said, 'You will give $20.' And I gave it, and he took the money and left. And that's called stealing. Stealing. He took armed robberies. It's called stealing. So the police say, "What did he look like?" And I give him a description. In fact, I say, "That's him down at the end of the street. A block away, I can see him there. He's going up to that." So the police race down there and get the guy, bring him back to my house, and he says, "Is this the guy?" I said, "Yes." He stole. "Did you steal from him?" "Yes." "You can't arrest me, though. I'm from the government." "Huh? What? Is it still stealing?" "Yes, of course it is. I didn't voluntarily give him the $20. He stole it, but the police have a gun." See? Is that called stealing? Yes. Stealing is defined as taking money or property that doesn't belong to you without permission. The first guy got $10 for me. If he had said, "Give me 20, I said, I appreciate what you're doing. Here's $10. Take it, and that's the best I could do. That's fine." But if he said, "Give me 20 and held a gun to my stomach," I'd get him arrested as well. It's called stealing. But when the government steals without permission, it's not. It's called welfare. Why? Barack Obama said we will use government to take from one to give to another. That's what sharing the wealth means. We're using government to take money from the poor, from the average income man, to give to the government. Now, he claims we're going to soak the rich. We're going to tax the rich more and more. That's the way to divide the money. And let me tell you this. I don't know about the average millionaire, but I'll tell you, the very wealthy in this country have tax-free foundations. Did you hear what I said? Tax-free. The Rockefellers, the Kennedys, the Morgans, and others all have tax-free foundations. I'll give you a good example. You remember Teddy Kennedy? He was a senator and brother to John Kennedy, who was assassinated, and Bobby Kennedy assassinated, and he had a tax-free foundation while he was a senator. In other words, he kept voting taxes on us that he knew he didn't have to pay. So Barack Obama is going to get money from those who are wealthy, who don't have a tax-free foundation, but his buddies are going to get no tax increase. Do you understand? We're not going to soak the rich. And even if we took all of the money from the very rich, it would pay the government's expenses for, 2 days or something like that. It's called stealing. And the purpose of government, and I've been saying this for at least 20 years, the purpose of government is to find ways to waste money, to tax into our discretionary spending. And Obamacare is going to do that, as I pointed out with that one little article I got from the newspaper. That's what it's. Now, where did this idea come from? This is not American. The idea to take from one to give to another is not American. We've never believed that until 1848. A man by the name of Karl Marx, a communist, the father of communism, wrote a book entitled The Communist Manifesto, in which he said, we're going to abolish private property. Now, what does that mean? That means your discretionary spending. We're going to abolish it. And then he went on to point out in another book he wrote a couple of years later, said, the essence of communism is, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. Which means we, communists, will use government to take from one to give to another. From those who have the ability, we'll take from them by force with the gun at their belly, and we'll give it to those people who have need for it. We're going to take money from those who have the ability and give food stamps to those who have the need of it. We're going to have a welfare program. It's going to take money by force and take it and give it to the poor people who need it so much. And even then, it's not going to be enough. We got to tax the rich because you dumb Americans, you still have discretionary spending left over, and you're not taking care of the poor people in America. I'll tell you this, the average poor person in America, if he went to any other country in the world, he would look back and say, well, I'm living like a king in America. Other countries have problems with poverty, but they don't have any discretionary spending. So there's no surplus once they pay their bills. But in America, and that's what Barack Obama's after. The government is going to reduce your discretionary spending until everything will be bought from the government and become a non-discretionary item to take care of the poor. They'll allow you to keep making your house payment and your car payment and pay your lights and your heat, etc., but everything else will be taxed away from you. We're going to distribute the income. That is what communists do. Now, this is tough, America. Hold on. This is not going to be, you're not going to like this next statement I'm going to make. Barack Obama is a Marxist communist, and I didn't say that. He said it. Barack Obama wrote a book called Dreams from My Father, in which he admits with his own words that he's a Marxist communist, which believes in from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. He just changed it and said we're going to believe that sharing the wealth is a good idea for everybody. Now let me ask you this. When Barack Obama goes to tax those wealthy who don't have a tax-free foundation, are they going to get a vote on this? I doubt it. I say, okay, everybody with $1 million, we're going to send you a ballot, and we want you to vote. Will you be willing to pay an additional 25 or 50% or whatever it is of your normal tax rate? And what if those people vote no? No, you're not going to do this. Is Obama going to take it by force? Yes, that's what communists do. America bought the lie that what we earn does not belong to us. The Russian government has discovered this. I'm talking about the USSR, the previous one before. Now we got, I don't know whether Putin and the Russians are communists, but the USSR, the Soviet Russia, Soviet Union, they wrote it into the Constitution. And I have a copy of it. It's in the other room. I'll do it from memory. It said the principle of socialism is from each according to his ability, to each according to his work. Work? No, Marx said need. And notice the Russian Constitution said work. Work. It says work. Wait a minute. That means if I don't work, I don't get fed. And the second part, yes, it goes on to say, work is a duty and an obligation to all, people, reasonable people who are sound or whatever it is. It changed it. Now notice this. Why did Russia build an Iron Curtain? The people who were having the property taken from them by force were leaving. And there is only so much you can do to give to the poor people. And when these people started discovering they were getting ripped off, they tried to leave the country. And when there's no one producing anything, there's nothing to divide with the poor. And that's what's happening in America. People are losing the incentive to produce, because the more you produce, the more as a percentage you have to pay in income tax. This is what's happening in America. Look around you. You can see, drive down your street, there's a bunch of doors, signs in front of a lot of houses, foreclosure. Why? People have lost the ability to make their payments because they lost their job and they can't get out of it. They can't even sell the house to get out of it, because the house will sell for less than what they owed the government at the bank. Now notice, that's the problem in America. This is what's happening. I'm not making this up. I'm reading the newspaper. This is very apparent. This is what's happening. It's going on around the world right now, around the nation, everywhere you go. Your wife now has to work, and that means your children have to be educated. Someone else got to take care of them. Well, you got to pay for that. And the government volunteers in Vail, Arizona, a city south of Tucson, smaller city, they've got year-round schools with maybe 2 or 3 weeks off, nearly all the time, which means they're now babysitting for you. So mama can go and go to a job, and the kids will be taken care of. She knows they'll be safe because the teacher will take care of them, and they'll learn something. And so they don't even have but maybe 2 weeks off. They used to have a summer off, but not anymore. So mom now can go out and earn a living to make the payments. This is what's happening in America. I'm not making this up. You can see it. It's happening right first, but no one's trying to explain it except Ralph Epperson. The Iron Curtain was built to keep the people who are producing, and after a while, they decide to stop producing. Let me the best example I can think of, and then if you want to, we'll end and you can take some phone calls. I want to mention someone named Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro, 50-some years ago, took over a radio station in Colombia, I think it was. And he was leading a Marxist communist revolution. And according to our ambassador in Venezuela, heard Fidel Castro say, took over a radio station, this is Fidel Castro, we're now having a communist revolution. So he was not able to succeed in that country. They found out who he was and what he was saying and booted him out. So anyway, he went to Cuba. And there he led a revolution in which he killed people who didn't want to go communist. There were reports that he was a communist, and the media in America said, oh, no, he's a George Washington of Cuba. So Fidel Castro established a communist dictatorship. He was never elected. He just took over and led the country into communism. There was an article in my local newspaper that said, just about 2 years ago, said 95% of the people in Cuba work for the government, and they make $20. Oh, that must be the minimum wage. It's wonderful. No, that's not the minimum wage, the maximum wage. That's a monthly wage, $20 a month. Huh? Yeah. Oh, they get subsidies, but where does that come from? From circulating money. They probably print it. And then there was an article that had a picture of some people reconstructing a falling down building. There's nothing for them to do. So they got 9 guys working on rebuilding this building. And when the photographer was there, only 2 of them were working. The other 7 are smoking cigarettes or sleeping or talking in the corner. And one of them said, in Cuba, we pretend to work and they pretend to pay us. $20 a month. I wonder what that would minimum wage, that's 12.5 cents an hour, baby. You talk about exorbitant minimum wages. We want $10 an hour in America. Those people in Cuba get a 12.5 cents an hour. Hey, baby, that's the way to go. And then Fidel Castro admitted, finally, after 50-some years, communism doesn't work. He admitted it. And Cuba is coming back to free enterprise. So I say to Barack Obama, are you listening? You, instead of going to Vienna and all these countries around the world, go down and talk to Fidel Castro. He'll show you it doesn't work. Here's a man who murdered people to establish this paradise, and after 50 years he admits it didn't work. Now, I've been saying that since 1962 when I found out it wouldn't work. Communism is the biggest fraud in the world, but Barack Obama doesn't care. Now, here's my point to you and your listeners. You can go on the internet and watch a DVD. It's only 90 minutes long. It's called Barack Obama, Marxist Communist, from his own words. Now, please understand, I'll quote it. I'll show you where you can find it as well, and you can know with absolute certainty the man is a Marxist communist because he believes in sharing the wealth as being a good idea, taking by force from the people, from one person to give to another. That's his solution. And I've heard people running for office in 2014 that the income redistribution, income inequality will become the major issue of this campaign. Do you understand, America? We are in deep, deep trouble. And if we don't stop it, we're going to discover it doesn't work in America. And in fact, it's already failing in America. We can see that. People are stopping to produce. People who want to employ people are not employing people because of Obamacare or from minimum wages or from too much intrusion in their business. They're getting fed up. And if this sweeps the nation, we might have a chance to save it and get back to the free enterprise system. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Did I cover it briefly, as brief as I can? Barack Obama, Marxist communist, from his own words, on the internet. No cost to you. You can watch it. Make copies. I even tell you in the DVD. Make copies, give it out, and watch it yourself.
Now, you have that on YouTube, and is that on your website also?
No, it's still too new to get on the website, but you can just Google it. Go to Google and type in Barack Obama, Marxist Communist, and click on it, and it'll show up. And
yes,
then you can
I have
watch
seen it. It is on YouTube, and I will I'll fit directly and drop it off into the event page and into chat here. So phone lines are back open now. We'll take some questions and comments from anybody who'd like to call in. Chuck, I'd like to get you to weigh in.
Ooh, Vince, I think you might want to grab callers.
Okay.
Because look, I don't want to wind up sounding hostile to anybody on here.
I think you see a little left-right divide, which that's okay. There's no, that's Epperson, Epperson, James Ralph Epperson. Yep. And I will get that, or you can find that too. But anyways, let's continue some just on Obamacare. What do you think the solution is?
Okay, well, let me throw something else at you, since we don't have a call, and maybe a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Let's go back to, this is also brand new. Maybe you've already discussed it on your program, Vincent, I don't know. But let's go, for those who've not heard this, and even if you have heard, let me reinforce it. Let's go back. There is no law requiring anyone in the states called the United States of America to pay income tax. There is no law. No law. Now, let me give you some evidence of that. There's been people discovering this for probably 20 years. And several years ago, some guy got into a program where he was on the talk shows around in various cities about how you could get out of paying income taxes. And he was making the statement there was no law. Now, one at a time, one fellow, a man who had a gun, who was an IRS agent, who was collecting money, going into the businesses and the people who had not paid taxes to force them with a gun at his side to pay their taxes. Now, he said, oh, that's impossible. I've been working for this for 20 years. Of course there's a law. I work for the IRS. So he said, I'm going to go and find it. And when he did, the man made a statement on the air talk show. He said, if you can find the law, there's a group of men who have pledged $100,000 to give you when you produce the law. So please, you could make $100,000. He said, boy, I could sure use that. I'll find the law. He couldn't find it. He looked and looked and looked. He went to his bosses and said, listen, I know I work and we're here for 20 years. I got a gun, but I can't find the law. Could you please get someone to tell me where the law is so I can make $100,000? And they said, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll write a letter to Washington, D.C., head of the IRS, and we'll get an answer for you. Because they didn't know either. So the letter came back. In fact, it took months to get the letter. The guy kept working. He said, where's my letter? Well, they're working on it. They're trying to find anything. Now, wait a minute. If there's a law, it's simple. You put it in a letter and send it back. Finally, the boss called him and said, listen, if you persist in this, we're going to have to let you go. Wait. You can't find the law? No, we're not going to say that. We're just going to say, don't do this anymore. Don't mention it. You can keep doing your job, but if you mention it again, we're going to fire you. And in fact, you're fired. So he quit. So now he speaks out at conferences to show his direct involvement with the IRS, admitting it's voluntary. Now, the second one was a young lady, someplace. One was on the East Coast and one was on the West Coast. They were not connected. She did the same thing. She drove around in her company car, listening to radio, and there's someone saying, there's no law. Oh, no, I've been working for the IRS, and I can guarantee it. I got daughters to go to college, and I'll find the law. She couldn't find it either. That's two of them. Now, I have to admit, there's probably more, but at least I know of these two. These two people could not find the law. And the reason there is no law is because Congress has no authority to tax us on our income. None. There's no constitutional authority for this. It doesn't exist. Now, let me finish. That was the case with the Constitution. But let me point something out. There are two governments that are in the Constitution. One's called the Government of the United States of America, and one's called the Government of the United States. Now, you go to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, and it says something about the government of the United States the 10-mile squares shall be the capital of the government of the United States. We are called people that live in the United States of America. Now, by the way, the Founding Fathers did not capitalize the U in United in the Declaration. They knew, I don't know what it's called, an adverb or an adverb, whatever it is, but it's a word meaning we got together and we formed together. These states, when you talk about specific states, those 13 states that formed together to form the nation, they were called the states with a capital S. So the states of America, which means a nation known as America, these states inside America are forming a government. And then we were united to do that. So we call ourselves the United States of America. But the U is not, we could even delete it because it's not even capitalized. Now, inside Article 1, Section 8, it talks about the government of the United States in Washington, D.C., and only Washington, D.C. Now, there wasn't much concern about that. By the way, let me finish with this thought. Washington, D.C. has a representative but no vote. They pay taxes, but they don't have a vote. That's called taxation without representation, isn't it? Well, we were told that was the major issue in the war. In the American Revolution, we were getting taxed without representation. The people in Washington, D.C. are getting taxed without representation, and they don't revolt. Why? Because Congress has the authority under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 to run Washington, D.C. by itself. They don't need any laws. They make their own laws. They tell the government what laws they want passed, what laws they don't. But they only have limited power in the states of America until the 13th Amendment, passed in 1865 after the Civil War. I'll do this really quickly. We got a couple more minutes. Okay, the story goes this way. Okay, after the Civil War was fought, and the issue was slavery, but that wasn't really the issue. That was the way to get people to fight people, Americans to fight Americans. But that wasn't the reason. The reason we fought the Civil War was the central bank. I document that even in my book in 1985. Okay, but let's just go with that. Let's just say States, and we got separated. We had the various North and South fighting after the war was over. So after the Union was recreated, it's called the Government of the United States. Now, that government was given total, unlimited, despotic, tyrannical power. Oh, I don't believe that, Ralph. I'll tell you what. When you watch my America's Secret Destiny, that's the second one I urge you to watch, America's Secret Destiny, also on the Internet, there are 3 links that connect what I'm about to say. One was called the Declaratory Act of 1766 by the Parliament of England. Check it out. Go and do a Google, Declaratory Act 1766, and read it. King George got the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever, which is total power. The definition of tyranny has been for centuries with every nation in the world. Total power in the hands of the king or the government. That's been the definition of tyranny for 6,000 years. So King George was given tyrannical power. 10 years later, our founding fathers, who were aware of the Declaratory Act in the Declaration, admitted that was the reason we separated from King George. The king was taking the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever. They recognized the words. They actually said it. They didn't call it the Declaratory Act. They just said King George has got the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever in the United States, and we're not going to tolerate. That's tyranny. In other words, I'll make one example. The king says, I want the American people to bounce on their heads at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock at night, and I want a law passed. That law would be passed because he's got the authority to do it under the Declaratory Act. So they declare independence. 11 years later, the founding fathers gave Congress the power to legislate in all cases whatsoever in Washington, D.C. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. If you don't believe me, read it yourself. Article 1, Section 8, the 17th, we call them clauses, Clause 17, Congress shall have the power to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over the United States. The 13th Amendment, that means they have no power, they have no tyrannical power over you and I until the 13th Amendment. 13th Amendment abolished slavery and involuntary servitude. Slavery is defined as forcing someone under a contract. They have no power to force us in the United States or America to pay an income tax, because that's force. And the 13th Amendment prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude. But notice, voluntary servitude is permitted. Huh? Of course it is. We didn't exclude it. We only excluded slavery and involuntary servitude. So if you want to become a slave, you're free to do so. You want to be a slave? Be a slave. And then the 14th Amendment was passed and said all persons born in the United States or naturalized in the United States are citizens of the United States. Now, wait a minute. Where were we before the 14th Amendment? 1868. We were never called citizens of the United States. But notice, there's 2 ways to become a citizen of the United States, meaning government with all power. Number 1, you can be born in Washington, D.C. If you're born in Washington, D.C., you will become a citizen of the United States under a total despotic, tyrannical government called the government of the United States, according to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. So now, there's one other way to do it, and I'm almost finished, and that is to become a naturalized citizen. Well, what's a naturalized citizen? I know this is quick. What I'm trying to do is to introduce the subject for you to do your own research, and I encourage you to watch 2 DVDs, the second one of which is called America's Secret Destiny. Now, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a naturalized citizen. He was born in Austria. He decided to become an American citizen. He said, I want to go to America. And so I guess whatever the process is, he went through it and came to America, had to wait 5 years, and then he went through some classes, I guess, and he raised his hand and became a citizen of the United States, which has total despotic, tyrannical power given to it in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. Now, I don't know whether Schwarzenegger knows that, but if he does, he might get angry because he thought he was coming to a land of the free. Schwarzenegger is under a total despotic power called the government of the United States. He did so voluntarily. No one forced him to come to America. Now, how did you and I do it? This is the last thing I'll say. There's no power to force us to get a Social Security law, to force us to get a Social Security law under the Constitution. There's no power. There's no law. I have 2 letters on my DVD. I will show you the letters, copies of them. I didn't make them up. They're not photoshopped. You'll have to take my word for it, but they were issued by the Social Security Administration. It says the tax is voluntary. If it's voluntary, you don't have to do it. Yes, you do, because we, the American people, became citizens of the United States by volunteering to take a benefit from the government of the United States, which has the power to give us a benefit called Social Security, as long as we volunteer for it. So we volunteered, and now we're citizens of the United States. And one last quick story. I live in Tucson, Arizona, 60 miles from Mexico. 30 years ago, I went across the border with my parents, and we visited Nogales. I freely just drove the car across the border. We're not coming back. My mom tells my grandmother, the man as we get the border is going to ask you, where were you born? And Mama, don't say Poland, because she was born in Poland, because you don't have your papers. Just say New York. So my grandma lied, and we got across the border. Now, a couple of years ago, I crossed the border, and the question no longer is where were you born. The question is, are you a citizen of the United States? They know.
Where was you born, man? I was born in East LA.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you got a Social Security card, you're now considered to be a naturalized citizen.
Right, and it's been that way for some time.
Yes.
Hey, I really appreciate you coming on, Mr. Epperson. You and I have been in contact for the past 20 years. I saw your video presentation that you did for the public access channel there in Tucson. I've seen those on VHS tapes. Anybody that remembers what those are. We've spoken many, many times on the phone. You matter of fact, you sent me the Unseen Hand to me for nothing, and I read it, and when I met you in Tucson some years later, you signed it for me at the Triple T truck stop. Shout out Tucson Triple T.
Well, Vincent, you're very kind.
Yeah, you're.
Please understand, this is a very quick summation of an hour and a half DVD simply called Barack Obama, Marxist Communist, from his own words. Another one's called America's Secret Destiny. That one's got 47,000 hits, so you'll find it. Just search for it, America's Secret Destiny, and commit to watching it. It's 4 hours long. Oh, wait a minute, Ralph, I never watch a DVD in 4 hours. So I said to you, did you watch the Super Bowl? Yes, I watched every down, every commercial. How long did that last? I'm like, oh, that was on for 6 hours.
I believe your video presentation in Tucson was it at 26 hours long?
That's correct. 27 actually, it's correct. It's still available. It's called Secrets of History.
There it is right there.
So understand this, please. Please understand, this is not pleasant for me to say. I don't want to say these things. But I'm telling you, if we allow this to continue, this nation is going to go communist. And we're going to have to experience what Fidel Castro did to Cuba for 50 years until the American people finally say, enough is enough. It doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Barack Obama will never meet with Fidel Castro. I can guarantee it. Because Castro will tell him, Barack, it doesn't work. 50 years. He actually murdered people to give them that paradise, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, we've got killings done in all isms of the world, and but yeah, it's what we got to address, and sometimes we. I try to look beyond that and realize that corporatism, socialism, democracy, all that, they roll it all into a nice little old ball, and people can pick and choose and vote on what it is they think's best for the world. But anyways, Mr. Epperson, I thank you again for coming on. Really, really appreciate it, and I appreciate the last time, and those are available and to listen to, and I'll grab some more links here after I close out. And this is a great presentation to segue into Double Cross Radio, which is coming up next with Drew David and Chuck from the land of liberty, Jefferson. We're not calling it a republic or a state yet, so that's still up in the air. Anyways, thanks again, Mr. Epperson. Appreciate it, bunches.
Vincent, it was my pleasure. Anytime I can be of assistance, please call me. Let me know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Talk to you. Hey, Chuck. Yeah, I know. Let me start out. I know that for some people, and rightly so, the division of isms are, some people are past that. So,
But Vince, this, hold on, please. I've been sitting here like wringing my own neck for like half an hour, bro. Please. The part at the end that he was talking about, made plenty of sense, and
Yes.
I'm with that entirely, okay? I understand that, and if you take a look at the constitutional history of the entire situation, he's 1,000% correct about the idea of the corporation, the United States of America versus the United States government. That is true. That is absolutely correct. I absolutely go with that. But the rest of this hyperbolic nonsense about complaining about communism,
Well,
I'm sorry. This is not a matter of communism. This is a matter of globalism, Ben.
Yes,
You
yeah.
even see, you and I are from two totally different backgrounds. I know you and I are friendly, but listen, man, we are not cut from the same exact kind of cloth.
That's
you know
right.
that.
Right.
Okay?
None of us are.
But what we do understand, okay, is that this is a worldwide issue. This is not a matter of this idiot system that the Red Scare is not dead with this guy. You gotta be kidding me.
Well, look, okay, we've got May Brussels and the Nazis. I hope Coop's listening. And, you know, people have, okay, when you go to, who's behind it, you have people saying Zionist or, the Jesuits or the Masons or the Mormons or whoever. So, you know, there's a lot of names behind all that stuff, but most of us realize that it all balls together and, it all sticks a little package, and there's all kinds of little stuff that we can pick apart and quibble about. But you know, that's
May got suckered by that whole Nazi thing because of the circulation of something called the Torbit document, okay? And that was an idiotic piece of disinformation that really, if you take a look at the type of resources that May was dealing with back then, was not a bad sort of look at something alternative from what existed in the mainstream or what the government was feeding us in regards to the Kennedy assassination. That's where the idea of Nazis, NASA, and the whole cover-up that involved all that nonsense and bringing in the Permindex thing as a major player and all that stuff. May made a mistake. Okay?
Well, no, she didn't make a mistake. She just didn't have all the information, and that's okay too. Because
right. But we still don't have all the information. And globally, this stuff is going on. This isn't a matter of us versus them, and now they've infiltrated us, Vince. This is a matter of us versus them as humanity versus that control system, which is not just invested in a tyrannical government here or anywhere else. If you think that Putin alone is the enemy of mankind, or you think that Fidel Castro is the enemy of mankind, you've got to be kidding me. The idea and the control system which actually flows through the whole thing is the international banking system, because that is the blood by which every last one of these isms runs.
And he has documented that fully. If you have not read his book or listened to any of his presentations, I would suggest, if you have the time, the 26 hours, I mean, he lays out history pretty good. And as far as empires goes and who's in control, it's really all a matter of perception, because behind the scenes, they shift the powers. Throughout history, the empires have changed, but the money powers that are in control have been in control for a great many years. I think, for millennia, certainly centuries. And, you know, they just move. If it means the destruction of a nation or a group of people, or you, me, or anybody else, they're not messed up about it. Even crushing an empire, even with their false flags. And I mean, you know, history has repeated itself time and time again. Hey, we're coming up to the end of the show. I'm going to thank Jaja for Radioactive. She's going to take us out. I'm going to give Chuck the last word. Remember, stay tuned for Double Crossed Radio with Drew David and Chuck from, you betcha, Jefferson. I'm looking to become part of that one day. Wouldn't that be great? Listen, you guys stay tuned. Chuck, take us out, brother. Thanks for helping along.
No problem, man. No problem. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel about it, because the way I see it is this is a cult of death that we're dealing with that has been faceless to us in reality for a long time. And sitting here and arguing and squabbling over the scraps and the idiocy that is put in front of us by the mainstream for us to argue over is pointless. I don't want to hear about communism. I don't want to hear about all that nonsense anymore, because that's not what it is. Those are just the tools with which they divide us. Okay? What we need to do is get back to being ourselves on a serious individual and collective level simultaneously. And if we don't get back to being free humanity, none of this matters. Point blank. That's all I got to say about that. Vince, thank you. I hope I was helpful a little bit, and, you know, I do my best, man. What can I say? I think, what do we got? Only a couple more seconds and then some music should kick on in.
That's right. Love you, peace, y'all. Thanks, Chuck. I love you. I love your program.
EA.com. Don't put it off. Call us. 928-3.
Bam. Here we go.
308-0408. And by the way, if you're going to call us,
the USA is crumbling. Y'all sit back, dumb as shit. The mass invasion, the home invasions. The CPS is coming to snatch your babies. These confiscations, the conversations. They're operating within the zones we're trading. We're in the matrix, now we're totally raided. They infiltrated, finally the devil gave in. If you can't hear me, then pump up the volume. McDonald's, Bin Laden, Osama, Obama. Bring up something real, legalize marijuana. Everything on a bong hit is as blunt as banana. Radioactive, intergalactic, counterattacking, the main attraction. Make it happen.